Alright gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I am Brian, your Game Master. Today I want to talk about the next step on how to Game Master. How to be a good Game Master. Now once again, this is all opinionative, okay? These are my opinions, things that I've developed over the course of years of playing. 15, 17 years of playing. What I want to talk about in this episode is the group. Okay? Alright. I'm Game Master. Alright? I want to start a game. Obviously I need a group. Okay? How are you going to build that? Where are you going to pull those people from? Most of the time, it's going to be your friends. Alright? You're going to get your friends involved. Maybe you're playing Dungeons & Dragons 3rd Edition or Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. You're playing Death Watch. You're playing GURPS. You're going to want people in your group that are going to want to have fun, that will have fun, and that will not be disruptive. So let's look at what we're going to do. You're going to look at your group of friends. Obviously, everybody wants all their friends involved in their group. I've got a pretty good sized group of friends. I don't get everybody in the group. Either through certain schedules, or maybe they don't like to role play. Maybe they like the Warhammer 40k. We have groups for that. We have groups for role playing. So let's look at our role playing group. So what you're going to want between 3 to 5 players. Once again, this is all just my opinion. If you can run 10 people, good on you. 3 is really good, so you could have 3 really good players, and it's easier with 3 because you can give each group member their time in the spotlight with their character. You get up to 5, it becomes a little more hectic. You have a lot more people that need their turns, or that all want to speak, or all want to do things. You need to select a group size that's going to be easy for you as a game master or dungeon master, whatever you call it, to be able to run smoothly with as little chaos as possible. I'm going to do a video eventually about like the different types of gamers. That's going to be a different thing. This is just how to set up your initial group. Okay, so you're going to want to pick your system. Okay, let's do this example. We're going to play Dungeons and Dragons. We're going to play the new D&D next, the 5th edition. Okay, we're going to play that. I'm going to find 3 to 5 players that like D&D, that have played before. You don't have to have played before. You can always introduce new players. I would definitely not introduce a 6th to a group of 5 veteran players, just because they're going to ask a lot of questions. Maybe do a game where there's just like 3, you add a 4th, and you teach. Right? You do something small. You start easy with the rules. You just don't dump it all on them at once. So you're going to get that group together. Okay. You're going to want to, before you even start playing, you're going to want to talk about the rules. One, if you have like the main rules of the game, so Dungeons and Dragons, make sure everybody kind of understands. Maybe you just get everybody over for a night. You have some drinks, you have some snacks. You just sit around, you're just talking about Dungeons and Dragons. People are spitballing character ideas. You're kind of going, yeah, maybe I want to run this game. I want to, we're going to fight. We're going to do like an undead campaign. We're going to fight a lot of zombies and things like that, and vampires, and it's going to be like a very like dark medieval kind of setting, whatever your setting is, right? You're going to want to talk to your players to make sure they're going to be interested in that setting. Because if you got somebody that's like, nah, I don't really like zombies, I'm not really interested in that. When they come to the game, they're going to want to play because they're here with your friends, but they're not going to be invested. And that's what you want. You want players that are invested in the work you're going to do. Because being a GM, dungeon master, whatever, storyteller, it's a lot of work. Now there are times like when I've been able to get away with just pulling ideas out of a hat, and just going with it. You're going to want to do some pre-planning as well. So you've got your players. They're all invested in your campaign setting and your campaign ideas. You're going to want to start spitballing character ideas. You're going to want to, what I like to do, I like to get with each player. Okay, we talked about the setting, Bill. Okay, Bill, talked about the setting. This is the game rules we're playing. Talk about your house rules. I mean, if you have house rules, the biggest thing is to make sure that that is all clearly stated before everybody starts playing. So you're not like, well, I'm going to house rule that. Obviously, there will be times when that has to happen. A certain situation comes up and maybe the rules are kind of ambiguous or don't really cover it. You need to make a snap decision just to make things fair. Okay, you want house rules to be fair as possible. The video we talk about the different types of players. We'll talk about what fair means to each of those different types of players. So you're talking to Bill. Bill wants to play a fighter in this example. Okay, fighter. Talk to him about his. If you're one of those game masters that like a lot of depth of character, like, okay, Bill, you're going to be playing. You've been playing, Cronus, and he's going to be a big, burly, beefy fighter from the north, and he's got 10 kids and all this other stuff. If you like that kind of depth, develop that. Maybe take some notes. I like depth of character. I don't just like, Billy the fighter, just stats on the paper. People come just roll dice. Like, if I just want to roll dice and do stuff like that, I'll play video games. Or I'll play other board games, right? I want character development. Okay, so you're going to sit down with all of your players. You're going to develop their characters individually, take notes, get their character made, and then the biggest thing is planning a date and a time. So you're going to go back and watch the 10 Commandments of Gaming. If you haven't already done so, go back and watch. I'll even put a link in the comments below. Go back and watch the 10 Commandments of Gaming. One of the commandments is I forget exactly how it's worded, but so basically, like, honor the game day and keep it open. So if I say 3 weeks from now on Saturday at 5 p.m., we're going to play from 5 to 10, if everybody's like, yeah, those players need to be here. All right? If not, maybe talk with that player. Hey, we set this 3 weeks out. The party was all good. The party dynamic was set. We needed you here. What's going on? Obviously, life, it's just a game, right? But I mean, if as a GM, if you're going to spend the time to develop the story around, here's another thing, we'll talk about it later, developing the story around these characters, don't just make a story and then throw these characters in there, like some extra spice and a bad pot of chili. You don't want that, okay, because it's going to taste bad, put bad taste in people's mouth. It's going to be kind of like, oh, well, we're just here to roll dice. Make sure that those players are going to be dedicated to it. Give them plenty of time in advance. All right, so you got your game set around your players and game day. As a GM, this is going to sound a little weird. You're like, yeah, we're all here to have fun, but ultimately remember, back to the 10 Commandments, I am game master by God, right? You make the decisions. You say what happens in the story. You have to make decisions. There will be times when sometimes you'll have to make changes to the rules to accommodate your story, which is totally fine, because the story trumps the rules, right? So you're going to want to make sure that everybody stays invested. So all your group members are invested in their character, and their characters are invested in what's going on in the story. If you're planning for long campaigns, 10 sessions, or if you're just doing let's just throw some characters together, let's just play a quick mission or a quick game, that's totally fine too. But if you're going to put work in, make sure everybody's invested. So let's recap. Okay, so I'm the game master. I've got my story idea. I've got my 3 to 5 players. We've got their characters made. They're invested. They understand the rules. They know when we're going to play. Everybody shows up and plays. That's a perfect world. Roads are straight. All turns are 90 degrees. But life isn't like that, right? So you always got to be able to fly kind of by the seat of the pants too sometimes as a GM. You got to be like, if Bill can't make it, work's called or whatever, he's got to work overtime, or the kids are sick or something, okay, that's totally fine. Make changes to the story, which is easy. Always develop your story to where it's easily changeable. But the biggest part is making sure your group is there and they're invested in their characters and your game, and their characters get invested in your game. That's like the basics of having a great role-playing session. Because then everybody's going to be really involved. They're going to be listening to the story. They're not going to be over there on their tablets or their phones. They're not going to be carrying on side conversations when you're talking to one player. They're over here talking about sports or whatever else they like to do. Okay, that's cool. Let them know, hey guys, that's at a different time. There could be story elements here. Make sure everyone understands your rules, your house rules. They have a vague understanding of the game rules, so that's not like every 5 seconds, what do I roll? What does this do? Get that all out of the way beforehand. Have, game nights before where you're just kind of talking about the rules and asking questions, and they're asking questions and you're throwing out the answers, and make sure that they understand. If you're going to bring in a new player to your current group, make sure it's not going to make the group too large for you not to handle. Some people be like, it's just another guy sitting around the table with his dice. It's not, because if I've got 5 players and they're all invested and they've got their own little storylines and story arcs going, this other guy comes in and he's just here to you know, have fun and hang out with his bros or girls. Don't get me wrong, I'm not being sexist here. Girls play just as well. You know, we got a couple of girls that play sometimes. Just make sure that your group is going to be able to be involved in your story. They're going to be focused for that however many hours you play. Afterwards, you guys can talk about whatever you want. So that's going to end this episode. The next episode I'm going to talk about the dynamic of gamer, the different types of gamers you're going to have. They're going to come to your group, and it's different. Yeah, you guys can all get along outside of the game, but inside the game, some people's personalities will spill over into their character, which will then spill over into your game. You got to make sure that your game is able to support that. Okay, so until next time, happy gaming, and we'll see you again in the Game Master's Dungeon. Remember, like, comment, subscribe below. Check us out on facebook.com/Game Master's Dungeon. I will be putting more updates on future content. I'll be putting some photos of like my Warhammer 40k painted miniatures and some of the stuff that we're doing. Go on over there, like the page, follow it. I'll put links to the new videos in there as well. But if you're a subscriber, you'll obviously get that information. But until then, happy gaming.